All right, I need a volunteer. Does anyone want to be my volunteer? Here's the deal is iron sharpens iron, right? We're talking about the sword and the sharpening. So you can be dull. The scriptures even talk about being dull. What's dull? Do you know what dull is?
Dull is not sharp and like a butter knife.
Kind of like that?
This is meant to cut butter.
Correct. So here's the thing is when you're sharp and you cut through things, you get to the core. So if this was an apple, for instance, we would get to the seeds or the core of the apple. But this isn't an apple. This is what? An onion. And so I thought this was just a really good example because sometimes when you cut deep in friendships, you end up crying. So when we cut this onion, you could be crying at the end of this. I want you to go ahead and take that dull butter knife. I want to see, you can put your hands on the onion. See, I want you to really try hard. Okay, that's good. Stop there. So how much pressure did you have to apply?
I had to put in a lot.
Is your hand hurt at all?
Tiny bit.
Okay, so here we go. I'm going to give you, don't slice yourself. So here we go. Okay, go ahead. Wow, 3, 4, 5. That was like five little, look at that. Take a bit. Wow. Are you smelling it? This is so deep. Okay, put it down. All right, you can sit down. Mercedes. What am I trying to say here? What am I saying about this? Arden.
That when you cut deep into friendships, it can make you cry.
Can make you cry? What does it take to cut deep? Yes, Rachel, go ahead. You need to be sharp to cut deep. So if I'm not pursuing the Lord and I'm kind of half-hearted, and I'm kind of dull in my pursuit of God, and I'm like this butter knife, I'm going to come to this onion and I'm going to try to cut through, and I'm either going to press really hard and get really tired really fast. Because I'm not just cutting one onion when I'm in a friendship with somebody. Every time I come together, I'm having to cut again and again and again, and you'll grow weary. So here's the thing that I found in my own life. So when I am dull in the Lord and I come to my friendships that are supposed to be sharpening me and I'm cutting like a butter knife, I grow really weary really fast and I want to give up on that friendship. But if I stay sharp and I'm pursuing the Lord on my own, seeking God and all that stuff, and I come to the onion again and again, it's like in the first few minutes, I go deep with that friend and we're at the core. We're going for it. And we don't have to start all over. We don't have to start on the surface again. We're just there as soon as we step in. So I have some friends that I don't talk to every day or even weekly sometimes, but as soon as I step into my relationship with them, the knife cuts right through to the core and I'm there with them. So that's what we're going to talk about today is what does it mean to make the cut? What does it mean to be sharp in a friendship? What are some specifics? I'm going to move that over there. I'm starting to cry. I can smell it up here. 2 by 2. 2 is better than 1. Actually, let's go ahead and move on and let's cruise right to the next slide with my friends. So these are different friends. My friends to the end. I even put up, just for you girls, I put up my wife and some friends that she has that she just met with these ladies. They're in all other parts of the world, but she just met with them like last week. She has friends that are close to home, but these are women that are really going significantly deep in the Lord, and when they come together, they go deep. It's really awesome. These are brothers with an organization I'm with called Daniel Training Network, and these guys, as soon as I step in with them, there is such love for each other. One of my first, Ken, right up in the corner, the Krauses aren't here, but Ken is the Krauses' dad, and Ken was my very first iron-to-iron friend, very first way back at Teen Mania. Justin, next to me, he was on the bus when I would travel. Remember when I had the bathroom and I had to hold it in? Justin had a front row seat. And this right here is Kurt. There's Kurt that I talked about last week. Kurt looks much older now. That was at his wedding a long time ago. But you could just see different pictures. Tim, probably the most influential friend I've ever had is Tim. Tim Miller. Now, all these guys are super huge to me. But Tim, I've lived with the Miller family. That's Tim Miller, and I've lived with the Miller family for 2 seasons of my life with my family. And Tim, by far, provokes me every day I'm with him. Like, he provokes me to want to live and walk with Jesus. Every moment, like, there is a desire to walk in the utmost love for God all the time. So these are types of friends. I'm telling you, I have lots of friends throughout my life, and this is what I want you to be able to do down the road, where you can throw pictures of friends up, whether it be in your house, in your room, wherever it is, be like, these are my iron to iron brothers or sisters, and I run with these people. So vitally important. Luke 10, 1 through 3. Why is it so important? Because God thinks it's important to have 2 by 2, to have somebody there with you, or 3 by 3, whatever it is. After this, the Lord appointed 72 others and sent them out on ahead of him, 2 by 2, into every town and place where he himself was about to go. He said to them, the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Therefore, ask the Lord of the harvest to send out workers in the harvest. So this has to do with them going out together to do ministry. So that's the context. But here's the deal, is there is 2 by 2 throughout the scriptures. You see different realities of this. Paul and Timothy, you got lots, and I shared some of those last week, that are biblical teams that God put together, these brothers. And so we can play games and play patty cake and be a dull knife all our lives, but here's the thing, is when the day of the Lord shows up and we get to the end, God's looking for sharp. He's looking for those that are sharp. It's important to be cutting to the core. Perspective matters. This is on your little fill in the blank. Perspective matters. I just want to say this too. We need to be asking the Lord, and this is something you can do in your times with him. We need to be asking the Lord, who might the Lord want to appoint to us? We have Luke 10, right? He appointed them, sent them out 2 by 2. Who is it that the Lord's appointing? And being able to ask yourself, Lord, who is it that you're appointing to me? Who is it that you want me to run with? So I'm going to do this. Blake, will you come up here real quick? I'm going to have you hold the mic to my mouth so I can keep talking. Okay, I have a deck of cards here. Here's what I want to do is I want somebody, and if you know how I'm doing this, don't yell it out. Don't yell it out. But I want somebody, Luke, I want you to tell me when to stop. I'm just going to go through. You can tell me right there. Are you sure? 7 of diamonds. Is that right? Is that right? Okay. Okay, here we go. You guys ready? How about Autumn? Tell me when to stop. I don't know if I know this. 10 of clubs. Oh, it's close. I'm a little rusty. Let's do one more. Ian, you look like you're really mesmerized here. Do you want to call this one? You tell me when to stop. That's pretty low. 7 diamonds. Okay. Here's why perspective matters. You guys ready? Now I'm going to do it sideways. I want you to watch really carefully. You guys ready for this? Rachel, you're going to call this one. Are you okay with calling it? Okay. All right, tell me when to stop. 9 of spades. Did anyone see what I did? Who saw what I did? Blake, put it up to them. What did I do?
When you were going through the thing, when she told you to stop, you picked out the bottom.
Here we go. I'll show you from this perspective. Brandon, tell me when to stop. 6 of spades. All right, perspective matters. Sometimes we're looking at life head on, right? You're looking at me head on and we're not able to diagnose or see why things are the way they are or what's going on. And we need a friend to kind of step to the side and be like, I see that little trick that's going on there. You need to do this, this, and this. And they're able to give us perspective in our lives and let us know what it is that we need to shift and what we need to change. Perspective matters. Some of you have grown up in things that are not okay. So I just want to say that. Some of you put the toilet paper on backwards compared to others. And I think it's backwards and you don't. You need somebody to tell you that thing is backwards. No, I'm just joking. But seriously, we all have different perspectives and we have warped views on things. And we need somebody to come along and be like, that's actually, I don't know if that's the best. I don't know if that's good. Or sometimes it's not even bad. It's not even sin. It's just like, I think you could sharpen yourself in that area to love better. Like when somebody's talking, you're looking around and not looking at them in the eyes and the face. And as your iron to iron brother, I just want you to know that people won't tell you because they love you too much, but people are feeling unloved whenever you talk to them or whenever you're trying to listen. You're not really listening in their minds. So I just want to love you in that way because I want you to be the best lover you can be of people. So we need to be those types of people that see us from a different view. Now that's a bit scary, right? When somebody sees you from a different perspective and they're maybe what we would call critiquing or constructive criticism or whatever, that can tweak us sometimes, or pride can raise up, but that's another reason, another very valuable reason why iron to iron brothers and sisters are so important, because we need people to push our buttons sometimes. We need that. I have really good brothers that do that. They go, Rich, like you guys, if you guys could have met me way back, I was just sharing with somebody, like this is totally unrelated to iron to iron, but it is friend to friend. And so my wife, whenever my wife met me, seriously guys, my pants were like this. And she was like, you know what? The flood already happened. We see rainbows. You don't need to wear high waters anymore. You know, the flood's not coming back. You need to get pants that are long enough, that cover your ankles, right? So I'm just thankful that my wife, she just spoke truth to me, and now I dress halfway decent, right? Praise God for wives. It's awesome. How many of you guys have ever had this happen, where you're walking around and you have this big like booger hanging off? This happened to me the other day. I was actually doing a video message, and I was like, I could see myself. I was like, oh, bro, I'm sorry. And I was like, it wasn't a booger, but it was like dry skin. But have you ever had that where you had a booger and like you walked around like for a long time with that booger, like dry booger, something stuck to your face, and people walked and they saw it and never told you? You ever had that happen? Come on. Who has had that? Okay. So it doesn't have to be a booger. It could be something else. But man, praise God for that one friend that was like, bro, you got a dry booger hanging off from your nose, man. Pick that thing off, you know. I'm just thankful for friends like that. We need friends like that. They can say things and help us, give us perspective. Going back to Kurt and my friendship with him, I remember one time I got on the phone with him. It was those 2-3 hour conversations that we would have every Thursday. And I was at an Acquire the Fire event someplace in the nation, and I skipped out on that really yummy meal that I told you guys about last week that I would skip out on. And I was talking to him on the phone, and I remember I was complaining about my leader at my church, because I was doing leaders stuff actually over your age group at my church, as well as a college ministry. I was doing both those things. It was my college ministry leader. I was running the ministry, but it was really one of the pastors. And I was complaining about him. And I was doing it in a really sly way. And so sometimes you have those friends, and I would be like, well, I'm just speaking truth. I remember Kurt saying this, yeah, but your truth is complaint. There's some complaining in the midst of your truth, and you need to tell me now. And he would do this. He'd be like, now I want you to tell me 3 things you really love about that leader. And he would push me to find the precious areas, the good areas, and to walk in line with the Lord. Not just that, but he would be like, Rich, why is it that I'm asking you to do that? Well, because you want me to love well, and I'm not going to love that leader well if I'm talking about them and gossiping about them. So I get to the heart, and the Lord loves me, loving them. Ecclesiastes 4:9-12. This one's a really good verse. 2 people are better off than one, for they can help each other succeed. If one person falls, the other can reach out and help. But someone who falls alone is in real trouble. Likewise, 2 people lying close together can keep each other warm. But how can one be warm alone? A person standing alone can be attacked and defeated, but 2 can stand back to back and conquer. 3 are even better, for a triple braided cord is not easily broken. Guys, we desperately need each other. And this is not like, hey, you know, if you stick together and you're like gaming buddies, you'll never be broken from the gaming universe. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about together. Now, that can happen where you can be really awesome bros in that. You can even love gaming and be about Jesus. But I'm talking about where Jesus fascinates you more than any of that other stuff. And you have brothers that are together, and you're fascinated by the living God. You're fascinated by who he is. You go deep together in knowing him. It's not like a joke to you. It's not a fairy tale. It's for real. That's awesome. Seeing sparks up close, because when you do iron with iron, what happens, Aiden? Sparks fly, right? So here's what I'm trying to get at is I want to talk about what it looks like to sharpen close as friends. These are real logistics. These are like practical things, and they're on your form, so we're going to fill them out. First, look in the right spot. Look in the right spot. I remember as a kid, out my parents' back door, we lived really close, like within walking distance to a ruins, an Indian ruins. It's still there today, But as a kid, when I was growing up, there's this massive open field behind me, and you could go in the field and you could find arrowheads. You could find pottery. It was like legitimate. It was like real pottery from the ancient Indians and real arrowheads. It was phenomenal. Now you can't do that because they've done all kinds of stuff to it. But this is before they thought it was really important. And I remember I would dig deep, but I had to look in the right spot. Like if I went into my bathroom and was looking next to the toilet, I probably wouldn't find any, right? You got to go out in the field and you got to dig and you got to look, and it takes time and it takes effort. It was hot sun. It was like the desert, right? I grew up in the desert, so it was out in the desert area, and it took time and energy. And so what I'm saying is you got to look in the right spot, but it takes time. Number 2, dig deep. Sometimes I had to dig a little bit to find it. It was kind of underneath this clayey layer where I was at when I was doing the pottery. One way to dig deep is to ask questions to get to know that person and really listen. Some of you have friends that you've had friends for years, but you still don't even know that person. I know a lot of people that are like this. They're really just acquaintances. That's what they call it. Where you kind of, yeah, I know who so-and-so is. And yeah, I talk to them. Or yeah, we hang out and we do fun together. But I don't really know them. I don't even know what's going on in their life. So this is where you're digging deep. You're taking time to ask real questions, thoughtful questions, and you really listen. Questions like this. What is your time like with Jesus? What has God been showing you lately? Anything interesting you've been thinking about lately in regards to the Bible? Have you been struggling lately? What do you do to help those that are in need? What is it that you do whenever you see somebody in need? These are great digging questions and going deep with people. I love this. We try to establish this in my home. We sit at the dinner table and my kids get to ask questions. It's phenomenal. I want to generate good questions out of my kids. Jesus was a phenomenal a person to ask questions. He had great questions. So I want my kids to ask those questions. So at the dinner table, they get to ask difficult, hard questions around the Word, around prayer, around God. And I'm trying to generate that in them. We have great discussions almost every dinner time. So it's huge. Ask good questions. Digging deep also means you pray about it. You're praying about that person. And then sharing your desire to begin going deeper together in the things of God with that person. So this is kind of like a general overview. You dig deep, you pray about it, and then you say, hey, I want to intentionally go into a deeper friendship with you because I love who you are and how you go after God. Can we do some specifics to go deeper together because I really value your friendship? And here's some of the things you can do during that time. Decide together on being devoted to one another. Decide together on being devoted. Romans 12:10, be devoted to one another with mutual love, showing eagerness in honoring one another. So you set up practical desires for your friendship. There's things you can have fun talking about. You can brainstorm about it. You can write it down. You can pray over it. I've done this with lots of my friends. And then you set those things in place. Here's some examples. I'm going to call you each morning and wake you up to seek God. Because your friend might communicate, hey, I really struggle to get out of bed, and I need somebody to get me out of bed. Like Ken, my very first accountability partner. Rich, I remember we were in an internship that's similar to BGU, and he was like, let's get up and pursue the Lord at 5 a.m. every morning. Let's do it. If you know Ken, he's all about yeah. But he couldn't get his butt out of bed in the morning. He was a hard sleeper. And so he finally said, Rich, and I would come, and sometimes his door would be locked because he had roommates. So the roommates would lock the door after he'd fallen asleep. And I remember getting really angry with him, like, oh, good. And I just wanted to bust the door open, like, oh, is this guy really in it or is he not? But then I'd find out, his roommate did it. I'd be like, that's good. Now it's holding me accountable. I have anger in my heart, But what he told me to do, hey, Rich, I want you to come every morning. I want you to grab me, and I want you to yank me out of my bed and throw me on the ground. He was on the third bunk. So that's what I would do. Go in, I would literally yank him out of his bed from the third bunk onto the ground. If you know Kenny, he's a pretty tough guy, so he was all about that. So calling each other in the morning, meet at least once a week. Read through some Bible together when apart so you can discuss it when you're together. Pray for one another. There's lots of things. There's endless things you can do. But where there's practical, intentional standards or things that you put in place. Next one, ask hard and or thoughtful questions. It doesn't always have to be hard, confrontational questions. Like, did you do that thing you weren't supposed to do today? doesn't always have to be that. And I want to strongly say that because I think sometimes accountability, that's all it becomes about is, did you sin again? We need to encourage each other and spur each other on in the Lord. So it's like, hey, I was reading this verse, and I'm ready to go after the day of the Lord and the hope that we have, the resurrection. Let's do this together. Let me read this verse to you and pray for us. Whatever it is, it can be encouraging and stirring each other. As a friend, become an amazing question asker. I just said this, or kind of earlier I brought it up. But if you don't have this as something that's part of who you are, make it part of who you are. When I meet somebody new, I ask a lot of questions. And I was just talking to my daughter about this the other day. Because some people really love to talk about themselves. They really do. And that's okay. But I want to be all about them. And so I just ask questions, and I let them answer, and I ask more questions, let them answer, and I ask more questions. So I'm thoughtfully processing with them, and they're feeling loved. People feel loved when you ask lots of questions, especially thoughtful ones. Galatians 6, 1 and 2, brothers and sisters, if a person is discovered in some sin, you who are spiritual, restore such a person in a spirit of gentleness. Pay close attention to yourselves so that you are not tempted to carry one another's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ. Now that's a whole Bible study in and of itself as to what it means to fulfill the law of Christ in helping your brother or sister. But it's a big deal. Let's just say it like that. It's a big deal. So we need to be there for each other and help each other. Next one, meet often. I'm cruising really fast through this. There's a lot more I could have put down, but we're running late. Meet often with intention. Hebrews 10, 23 through 25, and let us hold unwaveringly to the hope that we confess. For the one who made the promise is trustworthy, and let us take thought of how to spur one another on to love and good works. Not abandoning our own meetings, as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging each other, and even more so, because the day is going to dawn. The day is drawing near. You desperately need to stay on the narrow road. Come together, meet, have intentional times. On Mondays, I have a small group. We host it at our house. It's excruciatingly hard to have a small group at your home. It's messy, right? Especially when you have, I don't know how many kids are there, but it's like 20 kids at our house on Monday nights. But I take joy in it because I am all about the end fruit or the end process that's taking place in our hearts. Intentional meeting is so huge, no matter how messy it gets. And it's also creating good definition to those meetings. Prayer, not just talk time, not just talking and blabbering, but having prayer. Possible worship together, especially if one knows how to lead or you want to listen to something. High points and low points of the week and why. Hard questions for past struggles, maybe that you know your iron-to-iron friend has had. And then helping to set possible standards on areas where they're struggling. Next one, hold confidence in private communication. I'm going to tell you what this means. This means that when somebody shares something really, really intimate to them, which is going to be during these times when they're cutting deep and they're getting to the core, you're going to see their core that they don't show to anybody else. And you need to hold those things in confidence, meaning you don't go and blab them to just anybody and lose their trust. You've got to hold confidence in your communication with that person. Take what's heard to prayer and leave it there. Take what's heard to prayer and leave it there, unless there's something that's, is dramatically and hugely not good, right? And you should take it to an adult. You take it to one trusted adult, and you let them know if there is a need for that. Gossip has no place with iron-to-iron friends. Aim to help the other succeed. There's something that can come up in us where we want the other person to fail. Don't do that. I'm just going to say it. Don't do that. But that might come up at times. Last one, lead out together. And this could be a whole host of things. Could be a school prayer group. I'm going to start a school prayer group with you. Let's do it together. Or you guys can talk it through or whatever. Or I want to go and do whatever ministry with you, whatever that looks like. Like one great example, these two aren't here today, but is Noel and Morgan. I know they go to the same school. I know they run together. I know they've had impact on other kids at their school together because they're there together. They've been made fun of for their Christianity together, being together. But they've held strong because they're together in the midst of that making fun of. It's a powerful thing. Knowing when sparks will light a fire. And there's a lot I could say about this, but I felt like this was a needed thing for me to say. Knowing when those sparks, when you're sharpening, will light a fire. which isn't good. And the word I'm going to, and this, there's no more blanks that you have to fill out on this one, but it's something called codependency. And I'm bringing this up from experience. And so sometimes people, they're hurting and there's things going on the inside. So I'm just saying this to be cautious as you're searching for the iron-to-iron brother or the iron-to-iron sister. Because sometimes you can find somebody who's codependent. What that means is they are the one that always wants to talk and they never listen. They're the one that always needs your attention and they get angry when they don't have it. And so in the midst of searching for that iron-to-iron friend and you're listening to them and you're talking back and forth, I'm just saying this, you want to make sure that it goes both ways and not just one way. You understand? So what codependent means is that they're depending on you to fill all of their love and not on Jesus. So you can still love friends like that, right? I have people that I know that are codependent. I still love them. But I just want to say, you don't want that person to be your iron-to-iron friend most of the time. There might be exceptions. But I've had a codependent iron-to-iron friend. In fact, one of my first friends before Ken, he was codependent, but I don't count him as one of them. And he sucked me dry. And I'm a pretty energetic guy that can take a lot. But he sucked me dry, and then he got angry when I called him to accountability. He was unwilling to take accountability from anybody. So you just got to be aware of codependency. Be mindful of it and take time to find the right friends. Lasting friendship. This is it. Finding a running partner. Someone who will run the race to win the prize with you. 1 Corinthians 9. This is how I'm going to leave you. Do you know that all the runners in a stadium compete, but only one receives the prize? So run to lose. Run to what? I'm just saying it because some people run because they run like they're going to want to lose in this age. They're unwilling to do what it takes, the difficulty that it takes to be on the narrow path. Difficult is the way that leads to life and resurrection and glory in the age to come. You just better make sure that you make up your mind that I'm not running to lose. Am I running to win the prize? Each competitor must exercise self-control in everything. They do it to receive a perishable crown in a race at the Olympics or wherever it's at. But me, I do it to receive an imperishable crown, one that will be given to me on the day where Jesus reigns and rules from Jerusalem and his government has no end. And I'm resurrected in glory. That's what I'm running after, and I want friends who will drive me to get that crown. Those are the friends that I need. Those are the friends that we should want. So Lord, I just pray right now that you would help us to want to run to win. We can say the words, of course I don't want to lose. But we live our lives and we operate like we want to lose. So God, I pray right now that if there's anybody here right now that is running a race to lose, that they would speak the truth in their heart and say, that is me. I'm making a choice right now to win. And that choice includes an iron-to-iron brother or an iron-to-iron sister. I must find and search and dig and ask questions and go deep to find that person that will spur me on till the day dawns. God, help me. It's not a joke. It's not just even a church thing. This is a God thing. This is something that we desperately need in our lives if we really believe that Jesus is going to come and he's going to separate the sheep from the goats. There's going to be a heaven and a hell. It's going to be eternity somewhere. So God, I just pray that you would help us here at Refuge to be a group that runs together for the crown and for the prize. But Lord, as individuals, you would help each of these people here find somebody they can run this race with. This race is difficult. It's hard. It's not easy. And God, we need your help. We have you. We have worship. We have prayer. But God, we need each other. You make it very clear in your word. So help us now. In Jesus' name. There's no junior Jesus. There's no junior Holy Spirit. And there is no junior iron-to-iron brothers and sisters. You all can run at a deep level, and I believe it. The question is, do you believe it? Are you willing to go there?